Hi, and welcome to the Bitcoin Talk Show. I'm Jamie Nelson, filling in for Derrick J, who couldn't make it today. And we're doing this one a little later than normal today because Megan was going to join us today, but then she had a last minute emergency. So we're going to just go with the flow and see how this goes and see if anybody joins us. And if not, it'll probably be a pretty short show, but I have a lot of stories lined up here, and we'll just go through them and do what we can. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and now it sounds like my cats are getting rambunctious. So, I see this afternoon the U.S. Marshals have decided to auction off another 50,000 of Ross Ulbricht's Bitcoins in March. So March 5th, they are going to auction off another 50,000 of those Bitcoins, which will continue to subdue the price of Bitcoin, which is at $236 right now. And it's a pretty good way for them to keep the price of Bitcoin down, it seems. If they have free Bitcoin that they can just keep dumping onto the market. And we have two stolen Bitcoin ATMs, or two missing ATMs in Holland, it looks like. Let me see if I can get my screen sharing going here. Okay, they say the ATMs are missing, assumed stolen. Well, I don't really know what would happen to them other than being stolen. If it's really kind of hard to misplace them. It's not like you just happen to set your wallet down somewhere and forgot where you put it. I mean, those ATMs are kind of large. So, moving right along, what was my next story? You had a Kentucky church now accepting Bitcoin. Really didn't have much to say on that, but I do think Bitcoin is great for charity and nonprofit. Really, anybody that wants to be transparent in their donations or the way they want to have their money be accountable to whoever it is that they're or their constituency, or not constituency, their congregation, I guess, is what the church would have. And then, you know, they can have a Bitcoin address up on the web and people can go and look at it and see the balance at any time. So I think it's a great thing for a church or a charity or any organization for that matter to use Bitcoin. And blockchain would play a role in Kim.com's uncensorable internet. I looked at this story today and thought it was kind of interesting. It kind of reminded me of MadeSafe and Tor and stuff a bit. except for it was a blockchain based thing, and they're going to start it off on mobile phones, it looks like. And then as it grows, it'll be more robust, I believe. So I guess we'll just see how that goes. And it's non-IP based, so hopefully, anything that can make it better and can make it so it can't be shut down, I think is a positive, especially the way that nation states and stuff are really trying to crack down and censor at every turn now. We see this net neutrality thing coming up again here, I believe in a week or so. They're gonna try and basically the American FCC is going to try and control the internet like a public utility. So they'll be trying to regulate the internet like a water utility or something like that. For instance, my water, I have city water here where I live, and they came and said, well, your water meter's getting old. We don't trust you to read the meter and send in your thing anymore for how much water you used. You have to put in this meter with a radio transmitter on it in your basement now, and you don't have a choice. Otherwise, you will not be able to have water anymore. And so they just pretty much, they can just strong arm things in that way. And I pretty much figured this net neutrality thing is a Trojan horse. The whole, ever since I started talking about it. So anything we can do to make the internet uncensorable, I think is a good thing. And the Winklevoss twins creating Gemini, the NASDAQ for Bitcoin. Now, I don't know that this is necessarily a new story. I think they've been working on this for a little while. Plus, Patrick Bryan of Overstock is working on something similar, but I haven't followed that very closely either. I was hoping Megan was going to be on today because I know she has been following that closer, and I was kind of anticipating she was going to be on to talk about that, but I guess I kind of dropped the ball on that one. Yeah. What do we got here? And Bitreserve users can now peg Bitcoin to new metals in the Swiss franc. Bitreserve has added 3 new precious metals, a sixth currency option, and 5 new languages to its Bitcoin storage platform. Having introduced gold last year, the site will also allow its users to hold Bitcoin pegged to silver, platinum, or palladium. That's kind of cool. I haven't looked into the details of this, but it seems pretty interesting if you can keep your Bitcoin pegged to one of those metals and then if it holds that value, I think that would be pretty cool. Then it would protect your wealth that way. So I guess we'll just have to follow that and see how that goes. And moving right along. There's a group that's come up with some standard protocols and things for Bitcoin exchanges and wallets, which I think is a good idea. And unlike government regulations, which are mandated, this is kind of an opt-in thing, which I think is the way things should be. And you can, so basically they have this set of guidelines, and if you want to comply with them, I guess you go there and you get certified, and then they will add you to their list of certified people, and then you can say you're certified. Says 10, 10 standardized approaches to key and seed generation, storage, and usage, proof of reserve, and security audits, among other areas. I have to turn off my notifications here. I'm getting jumping out of my skin every time I get a tweet. And they do mention regulation in here and say that, you know, that regulators will probably look to this, but it's something that they think regulators are still trying to figure out what cryptocurrencies are, and they really don't think that they should have anything to do with them, which I agree with. And by the way, I did put all the links to these stories down below in the video description if you want to look them up afterwards. I really wasn't going to go too in depth in them, seeing I'm doing the show by myself today. But I did think I'd put them down there for you to look up if you wanted to do any further research on them. There's this story about 2,180 Bitcoin Foundation's members barred from voting. It looks like what the Bitcoin Foundation did was they noticed in their voting rules that about 80% of their voters weren't participating. And what that did was make it not possible for them to have a quorum. So according to their own bylaws, they couldn't proceed with business according to their own bylaws. So rather than change their bylaws, they changed what made people eligible to vote. And they made it now so to be eligible to vote, you have to register to vote ahead of time. And it was just, it's kind of a weird deal where if you don't, you got to go in and activate your account on their website, and then go in and vote. And if you don't go through all these hoops, you can't vote. So I guess I don't know what really to think of that. I'm not a member of the Bitcoin Foundation, so I've just really don't pay much attention to what they're doing, other than what Gavin is doing. But okay, let me see. And we had the Chinese Bitcoin exchange, BTER, claims that there was a theft of 1.75 million in Bitcoin, which is another thing why that story earlier about the Bitcoin standards, I think, is a good idea. But when we contrast that to our next story about the billion-dollar bank hack, which we're seeing month after month in the fiat industry, where these banks are getting hacked over and over again and losing customers' personal data and money and everything. 1.75 million doesn't seem like a whole lot, but there are different circumstances with banks too. Seeing they can create money, it's a little bit different. It doesn't hurt them as bad. And if they can get a bailout or a bail-in where it comes out of taxpayer money rather than their own money or their insurance carrier's money or anything, they really don't have much of an incentive to tighten up security. And they actually, when they can create their own money, they come out ahead if they get money stolen from them. So it's really a messed up system. And down below, I put a link to a short piece that Susanne Tarkowski Tempelhof from BitNation wrote this morning about how Bitcoin will reduce terrorism, which I thought was pretty good. And I'm going to read that now. It says, one of the root causes of terrorism and political unrest at large is the perceived lack of economic mobility and political participation. From the Arab Spring to the people joining jihadi movements, that is the result of bloated bureaucracies making it difficult through taxes and regulation for people to create businesses. Point in case, Mohammed Bouazizi set himself on fire because he wasn't allowed to operate his fruit stand, thus unleashing the Arab Spring. Because of governments backing corrupt monopolies like banks and telecom companies, and because governments in and of itself is a top-down oppressive system, whether it's democratic or dictatorial. Additionally, there are billions of unbanked people in the world who cannot do business in a scalable or easy way because they're not part of the financial system. System D is a $10 trillion economy. If it were a country, it would be the second largest economy in the world. Bitcoin banks the unbanked, gives everyone equal access to money transfers, doesn't care about government regulations, and is an organic P2P economy. It has the potential to give billions of disenfranchised people across the world economic mobility. If anyone thinks they're doing the world a favor through trying to regulate or ban Bitcoin because it may be used to fund terrorism, which other currencies are much greater extent being used, they don't understand anything about political and economic dynamics. As usual, governments are shooting themselves in the foot. And again, that was a piece written by Susanne Tarkowski, Tempelhof of BitNation. And that is below. And that is about all I had. So it was a short show today and could have made it longer, but there wasn't really any point in dragging it out. If I would have had a co-host, we could have had some discussion on this stuff, but unfortunately things are busy for people right now, or well, actually, fortunately, I should say. Next week, I will be trying to bring some broadcasts from Anarchapulco. There will be a lot of people down there in the Bitcoin ecosphere. I know Roger Ver is going to be there and some other big name Bitcoin people that I hope to meet up with and get some interviews and talk to. So if anybody has anything, they can write it in the show notes down below. Send me a message. Jamie Nelson 1 on Twitter. WorldCryptoNetwork.com is the YouTube page, or not the YouTube page, but the website for World Crypto Network. And I want to thank everybody for joining me and have a good rest of the week. Bye-bye.